If you've been on Zwift for any length of time or have a smart trainer, you have probably heard people talk about ERG mode. But what is it? What is it supposed to do? And how the heck are you supposed to use it? Hey everyone, welcome to Workout Wednesday. This week we're going to be talking about, you guessed it, ERG mode. I find that a lot of people just don't understand what this mode is really supposed to do, and that can lead to people getting frustrated and just not having the best experience on their indoor trainers. And indoor trainers are already not the best experience. But before this video gets too long, let's address 4 of the most common questions I see people have about ERG mode. How do I know if ERG mode is on? When doing a structured workout on Zwift, you can open the companion app, and under the game tab, you will either see an ERG button or a incline button. If you see the ERG button, then it's on. If you see the incline button, it's off. How do you enable ERG mode? Well, in the workout menu, before you even start riding, down at the very bottom, you can click the little button next to Enable ERG mode, and that will turn on ERG mode for your workout before you even start riding. You can also turn it on and off in-game in the middle of a workout, and that's again under the game tab in the companion app. You can tap that ERG or incline button, and that will switch it back and forth, enabling it or disabling it depending on what it was already on. So you can turn it on and off before you start, and you can turn it on and off actually in-game. Should you use ERG mode for every workout? No, absolutely not. ERG mode is really best for a specific kind of workout, and that's the long, steady state type efforts. I usually use it for just simply like zone 2 riding. It really doesn't do well when there's big changes in power or really short intervals. Do you need to shift when in ERG mode? No, and actually you shouldn't shift because your trainer is trying to do the work to keep your cadence and power in a specific zone, and if you're shifting, you're also doing some of that work, and the two together, you don't need to shift. Just find a nice gear and just ride. With that out of the way, let's dive into how smart trainers actually work. So smart trainers run in one of 2 modes. The first mode is sim or simulation mode, which is where the trainer responds to whatever happens on screen. So you start riding up a hill in Zwift, the trainer gets harder to pedal, it's in sim mode. You can kind of think of sim mode as like the default state of things. And then the second mode is ERG mode. Now, ERG mode is where the trainer will try to keep you at a specific power for a given cadence. And I think that's where a lot of people get confused. They hear, it'll keep you at a specific power. And they sort of think that the trainer will like do work for them. Maybe like how, an e-bike, when you ride an e-bike, the bike will actually add power to the pedals with an internal motor and battery to help you go a little bit faster. So they, maybe think that, hey, if I set my trainer to 300 watts and I ride at 200 watts, but I have ERG mode on, the trainer will add 100 watts to get me back to that 300 watts. This is just not how it works. The trainer does not add any power to what you're already producing. Instead, it sort of suggests what it wants you to be doing. So if you're riding at 200 watts and you have ERG mode on and you're supposed to be at 300 watts, the trainer will increase its resistance to try and get you up to 300 watts. But by increasing the resistance, it makes it harder to pedal, so that kind of just encourages you to put out more power, getting you back to 300 watts. But it doesn't add any power to the system for you. This is why ERG mode works so well for like long, steady state efforts, because it can kind of just nudge you in the right direction. It doesn't have to give these big changes in resistance. It can kind of just change things by 10, 15 watts, which will be very subtle. You won't have a big difference in perception of how much resistance you have on your trainer. It can kind of just keep you in that zone without big interventions in the resistance. This is also why ERG mode is rather poor for like high intensity, short sprint type work. So anything less than 30 seconds, the trainer is just not going to respond fast enough to give you that nice smooth transition from low to high power. And then also if you're coming from a like recovery state, so very low power, to like a VO2 max type interval, that big jump in power, the trainer's going to have to clamp down so much on the resistance, it's just not going to feel natural at all. So I actually recommend all my athletes, for anything above like zone 3 work, don't use ERG mode. And this situation where the trainer adds resistance in an unexpected way can actually lead to what is commonly called, and I'm not making this up, the spiral of death. This is where the trainer adds resistance, so your cadence drops, which means your power drops, which means the trainer adds resistance, which means your cadence drops, which means your power drops, which means that you see where we're going with this, and then around and around it goes until you can basically no longer pedal. And this brings up one of the most important parts about riding with ERG mode. The ERG mode is not a automagic, I don't have to think about anything button. It's not something you can just enable and then everything happens for me and I can just go ride. You have to be an active participant in the system. You have to know what's going on, you have to know what to expect, you have to understand what the trainer's gonna do and what it's gonna try to get you to do so that you can respond accordingly. So if you know that there's an effort coming up, you know the trainer's going to increase the resistance, which means you're going to need to increase your effort in that first few seconds to try to match that resistance so you can get back to that steady state effort. You still have to be paying attention. And that's when ERG mode works the best, when you're in line with what the trainer's trying to get you to do, and then you and the trainer can work together to have the best experience on those long steady state rides. Just like anything, ERG mode is simply a tool, and tool only works as well as the person using it, so it really pays to know what's going on and when it makes sense to use this mode and when it makes sense to not use it. What do you think? Do you ride in ERG mode? Do you do it all the time? Do you do it just some of the time? Have you had some of these problems with your setup when you're trying to ride in ERG mode? Let me know in the comments down below. Let's talk about it, and give this video a thumbs up if you found it helpful or any of this information was useful to you to try to get your setup working just a little bit better. Make sure you check back this coming Friday because we are wrapping up the Faster on Friday drivetrain series. We're going to be looking at the jockey wheels and the oversized jockey wheels to see how much time those can save you on race day. But until then, we'll see you later. Bye.